Welcome to Attenuation, a podcast where two friends come together to drink beer, discover brewing history, and delve into the latest trends in the ever-evolving world of craft beer. From hoppy IPAs to rich stouts, we are your companions on this hop-forward journey. If you enjoy your time with us, we invite you to become a weekly listener and subscribe to the podcast. And now, grab a pint, sit back, and enjoy this episode of Attenuation, a beer podcast.
Hello, and welcome to episode 102 of Attenuation, a beer podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my best friend since 8th grade, Steven.
Hello.
How's it going today, sir?
So good.
I'm excited about today.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I was doing my last-minute research, per usual.
All my research is last.
And
that's standard. That's been my whole life. But, never change.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, I used to do last minute. Yeah, homework, and we do last minute homework for the podcast too. But so I just freshly watched. We'll allude to it later, but there's a documentary on one of the beers that the brewery we're going to talk about today makes. So I just watched that 2 hours ago, and I'm all hyped up now. So
well, that's perfect because now it's fresh.
Yeah. I'll remember what they said.
See, I had watched the first half 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so that's gone.
And then I've watched the second half today. So, yeah.
All right, Steven, so what are we doing today?
We are talking about Goose Island Brewing. We're talking about Bourbon County Stout. They just released them. That was Black Friday. They came out. So, funny story about that. Actually, I was very, very, very excited to go get this beer. And I had to go to the grocery store a few times to get in touch with the right person to get it because they didn't put it out on the shelves that day.
Oh, they had it, but wasn't out yet.
Yeah, they were they wanted to limit how many people bought. Anyway, I got it, and then I go to the grocery store a week later, and they're just on the shelves, available, all the variants.
And you're like, why did they waste my time?
Why did I do that? Yeah, but it's still fun actually. So you were able to secure some from a beer shop?
Well, no. Yes and no. So
okay.
I actually had not the exact same experience as you, but there is a local beer place. So I went before Black Friday, so I knew they weren't going to have it. And I hadn't been there for a really long time. I actually totally forgot it existed. It's kind of close to my work, and I used to go, pre-COVID, I used to go all the time. And then all of a sudden I remembered, oh. Because there's actually two, and they're both similar. They're we talked about Pacific Market, that's another one in my area, where it's just sort of a convenience store that also happens to have incredible beer.
Getting great.
Yeah, so this is the same kind of place. It's mostly a convenience store, but then he has this insane craft beer section. So I remember, I went in, and he had a bunch of tons of older years. So he had 2021s, 20s, all the way back to 18. A bunch of the variants. And so we got to talking, and that's when I picked up the Coca-Cola variant because I don't think they branded it Coca-Cola. I think it's just cola. But I really wanted to try that one, so I was excited. And I mean, we can get more into it, but he had some interesting observations on the whole Bourbon County Stout and the hype around it and stuff like that.
Okay, cool.
But so I asked him if he was going to get the new one, and he was, but that wasn't until next week. So then I ended up ordering it on Total Wine instead.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah.
Well, because I was a little bit.
Just had it delivered.
I was worried that the variants would all be gone. Kind of same as you. And actually, I did go there this week, and all the variants were gone. So
gotcha. It's
kind of interesting. We can talk about it more, but I think there has been a little bit of ebb and flow around the hype. But at least this year, at least in my local area, it seems like the variant sold out pretty fast.
Yeah, it's really funny because I put my I feel my fingers on the pulse of craft beer. I feel because the Instagram and the podcast, I just see more. Yeah. And so I always think is that why it's am I thinking it's more popular just because I'm seeing it? But I do think sometimes that reflects what's going on, and it seemed it was gonna be more popular this year. So that's why I was jumped on it. And I do think I was at the store the other day and the bananas were gone. Okay. The Banana Foster ones were gone. So there's definitely some variants that sell faster than others and that kind of thing. But.
Yeah, and now I guess we'll even step on it more. I feel like we're stepping on that.
It's okay.
That's fine. Now I feel like the information spreads so fast that like, you know, 5 minutes after they're released, there's already like a verdict on like which variant is the good one.
The best, yeah,
whereas I feel like
100%.
10 years ago that didn't happen. You had to like
Yeah.
buy them and try them. So it's kind of interesting. So okay, so we get to our drinking beer segment.
Yeah. We needed a longer intro here because the beers needed to warm up.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I just pulled them out of the
that's why we're
fridge.
trying to stall.
All right, so what do you? Oh wait, hold on. How does this even work? We're off script. Okay.
Read your script.
Okay.
Go back to
All right, our first segment is the drinking beer segment. The way this works is, all right, this is how it goes. I introduce my beer, give nose notes. Steven does the same, and then we cheers and give tasting notes. Oh, we got there. Okay. So today I'm going to open 2 beers, going crazy. Might not drink all of them, but I have the 2023 Bourbon County Banana Foster Stout variant. And then I'm also going to open, I couldn't find them this year, but last year they put just the regular Bourbon County Stout in 4-packs, which was perfect because just drinking 12 ounces of this is ideal. Drinking the big bomber is a whole nother commitment. So I'm going to open this one too. I want to try. Now I know they vary from year to year, the baseline one, but I just kind of wanted to try like the unadulterated one from 22 versus the Banana Fosters from 23.
Okay, nice. Okay, wow. This is Bourbon County Day.
It's the episode. That's the topic. So, oh yeah, I'm actually super excited for the banana. And while I pour these, because this will take a minute, I drank that Coke one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was really good. It was fun. It really had a really strong cola flavor.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Now you already tried the banana one, right?
I did, yeah. So I'll give you my take after.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna smell and give notes on the regular one first.
This is 2022.
2022. It's last year's.
Okay.
Oh, it smells so good. You know, dark fruit, plum, chocolate, bourbon, vanilla. It's malty. The dark fruit really jumps out on this one. Okay. Now I'm going to smell the banana one, which I already smelled it when I was pouring it. It's strong smell. Oh, yeah. It smells so much like banana. It smells like... This is going to sound like an insult, but it's not. It honestly smells like Gerber baby banana food.
Yeah.
Like, you know when you like... I don't know when the last time you've... I have a 9-month-old, so... I've been smelling.
You are intimately aware.
Yeah,
of
I'm
the smell
deep in
of
baby food.
right now.
Yeah. But it has that banana smell. It's really central, and then I'm getting a lot of vanilla as well. Coconut, bourbon. This one smells a lot sweeter, just on the nose. And that banana note has kind of displaced all the dark fruit. So I'm really getting like banana, vanilla, coconut, bourbon. That's what I'm smelling on this one. I would say the nose is a little less... It's less complicated because I feel like the banana is kind of pushing everything else out of the way, which is fine. That's what I want. I want to taste banana.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Steven, what are you drinking?
So I have the 2023 Bourbon County Stout.
Okay.
And I also have the 2023 Backyard Stout variant, which is Bourbon County Stout, aged with mulberries, boysenberries, and Marion berries. Super excited about this one. I think, for me, any sort of fruit adjunct in a stout, I'm kind of all about right now.
Okay.
I had that cherry bomb from Prairie Arsenals the other day, and I was just blown away. So good. So.
I was so jealous. I love that beer.
Okay, so first off, the 2023 just straight Bourbon County Stout. My goodness. This one is very, like, cherry forward. Tiny bit of chocolate and vanilla. But man, very cherry forward. Smells very sweet. Like syrupy maraschino cherries. Maybe a little nut there, like almond or hazelnut or something there. A little nuttiness to it. All right. Let me pop the top on my Backyard.
So that's what I wanted. I was not able to find. So I'm jealous.
The Backyard?
I'm jealous you have the Backyard one. Yeah.
You couldn't get that off Total Wine either?
They didn't have that one for some reason.
Oh, weird. Well, I will say, I think at the grocery store, all the variants are gone. It's just the regular that's left now. Wow. This is a whole different smell. It smells like juice.
Really?
Kind of pomegranate.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of raspberry-ish flavor. Yeah, like a blackberry flavor smell to it. Wow. It's just like deep, rich berry flavors.
Okay.
Like berry dark chocolate. Wow. Okay. And then just a little bit of like sweet bourbon coming off that nose, but man, totally different smell. So much more chocolate and vanilla coming off the regular one. And then this is just like all berries in the nose. Like wine. It very much smells like wine. That's why I was like, there's a smell in here. Yeah. It smells like a red wine.
That's crazy. All right, well, let's drink these.
Okay, let's do it.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Okay, I'll talk about the regular one first. When you said maraschino cherry, that like you inceptioned that into my brain. So I definitely get that. It's really sweet, I think, and that's a big. I know that's like one of the big complaints against Bourbon County is like it's very sweet. And
okay.
I like sweet, but I also have a cutoff. But for whatever reason, this one always rides like the edge of sweet, where it's not too sweet for me. But it's very sweet on the entrance. I get cherry, plum, chocolate, and then it kind of develops into bourbon, vanilla. I do get the slightest flash of like booze. Like you taste the alcohol for a minute there in the end, but really good. There's a lot of other flavors in there. Caramel, raisin. It's one of those beers it's very complex, and especially as it warms, you kind of like notice different things. And then the banana variant, like, wow, the banana, it's right there. It punches right in the beginning, like sweet banana. And then I forgot to mention there's also, they brewed it with almonds and cassia bark. So cinnamon. But yeah, there's sweet banana, almond. You still get the chocolate. Kind of does, for me, the same like middling development into bourbon and vanilla. Then I get the cinnamon. And then I get a little flash of booze at the end. And I get it has a cinnamony finish, which I really like because I love cinnamon in a stout. The banana is a little weird. In the entrance, it's really good. And then it kind of like reemerges like in a form that's not sweet. Like in the development that I feel it tastes a little tiny bit off to me. And the other thing that I noticed, at least for now, I might change my mind as I continue to sip it as it warms. The banana feels like it displaces like all of the dark fruits, like the raisin, the plum, the cherry is almost like displaced by the banana. So I wonder if that in that development, if I'm tasting those flavors like kind of clash a little bit. I think maybe that's what I'm experiencing. So I do like it though. I like it. It's okay. It's different, but I still really like it. So awesome. Thumbs up on both, obviously.
Okay.
All right.
What do you
think of yours?
Yeah. Well, wait. For me,
first, tell me what did you think of the banana?
I thought the banana was too subtle.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, I wanted more banana, and I didn't feel like I got a ton in the nose, and then it didn't really follow as much in the flavor.
Definitely in the nose. It's very strong in the nose.
Yeah, and. Definitely sweet. Mm-hmm. I liked it. I think out of these three, and I'll talk about these other two, it's probably going to end up being my favorite.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll talk about the 2023 Bourbon County Stout. I was getting this like really warm booze, tons of chocolate, tons of caramel, tons, and then a lot of charred wood character to it. So I was really getting that bourbon barrel, like the burned inside. A lot of wood character coming through there. I just think it's a really good, cohesive bourbon barrel-aged stout.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like they've dialed it in at this point, and it is very good. I think year after year, they're producing a really, really well-made bourbon barrel-aged stout. So no complaints. It's very good. I love that wood flavor coming through. A little bit of like caramelized sugar sort of mixed in with that, and with that sweetness coming through. So super good. I like it a lot. Yeah, I'm not too hot on this backyard.
Oh, really?
For as excited as I was for it, I'm like doubly disappointed. It's not very good. I'm getting like, I guess I'm like tart berry at the beginning, and then it just sort of moves into this like just very, very much like cherry cough syrup flavor.
Oh,
like
no.
Not in a good way. Some dark chocolate notes there. It just seemed like, I don't know, it's like all the fruit they put in ruined the stout.
Okay, they like overdid it.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I think sometimes they're good at playing up flavors that are already in there and just adding to them. And this is just not that. Like, the original has such a great cherry note.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And then with all these extra berries in there, ooh, it is not good. I don't know. I'm sure someone likes it, but
Well, you make me feel better now that I didn't get one.
I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think you're.
So
I think
interestingly enough, they consolidated. I think they consolidate all the reviews of the main one. I don't think they break them down, but on Beer Advocate, it has 100. Both the Backyard variant and the Banana Foster variant from 23 are both at 93. So
Okay.
I think people do agree that maybe these two particular variants are not. I don't know, not as good as the original. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it's subjective, but
The one I wish I could have gotten a hold of course, it's pretty much impossible unless you're in Chicago, is the Proprietor Stout.
yeah.
This year, the rice pudding one. That one sounded really good.
And that's the one they only release locally.
Only in Chicago.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently, this Banana Foster's was a proprietary blend like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So-
And it was very popular, so they remade it.
So-
I would say thumbs up for the.
I was about to say,
regular
is it a thumbs down on the
down.
Backyard? Oh,
I
dang.
don't like it.
Okay, a miss. All right, cool. Well,
okay.
that's fine. It happens sometimes. Just at least you have one that you like.
That's my opinion. I'm sure there are plenty of people that like it. I
Right.
guarantee it.
Oh yeah. Okay, so next up we have postscripts, where we fix things in previous episode. Beer news, which is self-described news about beer, and then story time with Steve, and I think it's going to be story time with Jason this time. So we did.
Jason has a rant he wants to go on.
Do I? I hope.
Yeah, didn't you have new rules, new Stout?
Oh, I do. I have grumpy old
Yeah.
man rules.
Yeah.
Postscript. Last episode, Steven, we talked about a sour gummy beer. Didn't they work with? They got some hints.
Yeah, they got some direction for flavors for brewing their gummy worm sour from Trolley, the gummy worm company.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So we weren't sure who it was that had brewed it.
Yeah.
So I looked it up, did my research.
Good job.
Last minute. And it was Tall City Brewing.
Okay.
They are in Midland, Texas.
Oh, in your neck of the woods. Not really. I don't know anything about Texas.
Texas is a big state.
I know it's gigantic.
Midland is nowhere close.
Yeah.
But yeah, Midland, Texas.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised there's even a brewery in Midland, Texas.
Yeah, it's a pretty small place.
So, cheers to Midland, Texas, Tall City Brewing.
Nice.
You made it to the Attenuation podcast.
Shout out.
You, the ultimate, the peak.
You've peaked. It's all just downhill from here.
Yeah, you get mentioned on this podcast.
That's peak.
That's it. Ultimate.
All right, cool. So we that was our postscript. We do have a couple of beer news. One is very timely. Unfortunately, we're doing a deep dive on Goose Island. One of their locations is closing. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, Steven, it's like their original location?
I think so, or one of their original locations, or one of them that's been, I think it opened in like 1988.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep, 1988. It's being torn down.
When did Goose Island open?
Okay. 1988.
Okay, so yeah, one of the original.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
they have another location, so it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, this was basically just phasing out. It's not like they're doing bad or anything. They're just phasing it out in lieu of just doing. They've done more business at this other facility anyway.
Well, and it sounds like I should have read more about this before we started recording, but they're tearing down. I bet you anything they like lost their lease or they sold the building because they're going to do a residential development on that corner.
Yeah, everything right there. They've like it's all commercial, like Lululemon now, and they're gonna build some apartments and stuff. So, yep.
I want to buy. If I win the lottery, I'm going to buy one of those apartments because there's
Probably
it says
smells like.
it says their other brew house is just a couple blocks away. So
Nice. Yeah. So I do know, like, I follow some Chicago beer people, and I know they were pretty sad about it closing. Just like from a historical perspective, it's just there's a lot of history there and a lot of memories there. But
totally.
yeah. Not any indication that their business is going bad or anything like that. Just the evolution of the area that they're in. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Next is a very short revelation that Steven cued me into that I had no idea. I'm a huge fan of Revolution Brewing, another Chicago brewery, and they make a beer called what I thought it was called Deth by Cherries. But Steven corrected me. The Deth is not pronounced death. It's actually Deth.
Yeah, Deth. You know, it's really funny. Well, they play on the word as if it's death, right? Death's tar, Death by cherries. But it's actually a name. It's a last name, and it's Deth. So it's really funny because, again, like, I'm on Instagram. I'm seeing all this stuff about these Revolution, all the Revolution stouts and barley wines and stuff that are coming out this time of year, and everyone on there, on the Revolution Brewing Instagram, is saying Deth, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, am I losing my mind? And I look it up, and sure enough, it is actually Deth. So Cafe Deth, Deth's Tar, and Deth by Cherries is the series. So, just in case you were making the same mistake we were making, now you can say it correctly and sound like a real beer nerd.
You can correct other people.
Yeah, definitely always correct people. They say it wrong. You love that.
So yeah,
I'm surprised we hadn't even gotten any messages. Like, you guys
are saying it wrong. Yeah,
we mentioned it a few times before. I think you've had one on the podcast.
I had Death by Cherries on the podcast. Yeah.
Deth by Cherries.
See? There we go. A life correction, right?
Get it right, man. Yeah. Get it right.
I should know better. It just sounds cool when you say Death by Cherries. It doesn't sound as cool when you say Deth by Cherries.
I know. People are like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I know people who don't know are like,
what are you saying?
Saying that wrong?
Yeah. All right. Next we have, tell us about this beer law change, Steven.
Oh, so yeah, it's crazy. So I casually follow, because since we did the episode on New Jersey beer laws, which were just so weird, so
crazy. Yeah,
they can't. You have to send people on beer tours of the brewery before they can drink at your brewery, and having you can only have a certain number of events at your brewery every year. But like putting the football game on the TV is an event, so. Just an absolute insanity. They've been working really hard to try and get some of these laws changed, and they got a bill passed through the state legislature unanimously. Not a single no vote. That's like impossible these days on anything.
That is crazy.
But these beer laws are so backwards that like it just makes sense to everybody except for the governor, who long time ago committed to updating and changing the beer laws, being on the side of breweries, and then is just completely walking back that promise and refusing to sign this bill. And my first thought was like, well, dude, he can veto it all he wants, but it unanimously passed through the state legislature. Just send it back and override his veto, right? Well, apparently there's a thing called a conditional veto, which he can essentially do in perpetuity, because he can just keep saying, I don't like it the way it is, go back, change some of these things, and then I'll sign it. And he can just keep doing that. So there's no veto to override. He's basically sending it back for changes.
Yeah, he's just playing games to tie it up forever.
Yeah, again, I mean, look, we've talked on this podcast about some of the, we did the New Albion Brewing deep dive and Anchor Brewing and all these first time, early breweries in the 70s and 80s really had to do a lot of work in their respective state legislatures to get beer laws changed so that they could actually do business the way they wanted to do it. And it takes a lot of work, and some people don't understand what you're trying to do, or they're in bed with some other people that are against what you're trying to do. So
sure.
Anyway, it's just it's a long fight. It's a good fight. I'm glad that they're fighting the fight and trying to change those laws. Apparently is very similar to Texas. I think Texas for a long time was the same way, with having to do a tour
So
or
stupid.
Even just beer distribution and beer sale laws were really bad. There's a brewery in San Antonio called Freetail, and they were very much their founder, I can't remember his name, but he was very much a huge player in getting beer laws changed. Basically, he had a business plan, and above his business plan, he wrote, "This is my business plan, except it's illegal." As it stands, my business plan is illegal. My goal is to change that. So, yeah, he did a lot of work. Ended up working with a lot of the early Austin breweries, and getting laws changed. So, it's a long fight. It's too bad this governor is digging his heels in and being kind of weird about it. But
all right, I'm moving to New Jersey. And I'm announcing my candidacy. My entire platform I'm a
one
issue
platform.
Is to get rid of these draconic beer laws.
Like it. You know, it was great. I did a beer bus tour, and the group was from New Jersey. And I was like, oh,
that's awesome.
I know all about your terrible beer laws. And they're like, yeah, it's horrible. I mean, it's like, you know, you sort of get used to whatever they're
right. Your local customs are.
So I think to some people it's like, yeah, just I don't know, just how it is. That's what you have to do to drink beer, you know.
Yeah.
So some people just kind of like give into it, but
it's lame.
Luckily there's some people out there fighting against it.
Yes, it's 2023.
Yeah, like come on,
guys.
Seriously,
that's funny.
2023. There's 10,000 breweries in this country.
Right.
Like, come on. Like,
yeah.
It's just some people drinking beer, some people aren't. Oh, on that note, okay, now that we've covered that, apparently White Claw is coming out with non-alcoholic White Claw. So it's a non-alcoholic hard seltzer.
Isn't that just bubble water?
I think that's just a seltzer.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. You know, someday we're gonna.
I just love this non-alcoholic hard seltzer.
Yeah, that's. You know what that is, Steven? That's bubble water with extra steps.
Did they put alcohol in it
and then take it back out? Yeah, that is so stupid.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, I thought that was funny.
That makes me mad.
Had to mention that.
You're getting me hyped up. You're getting me hyped up for my rant.
There's a ton more non-alcoholic beers now too. Sierra Nevada, I think, is wading into that. So.
Yeah, I think it's kind of on the rise a little bit. So.
Yeah. Hopefully, they can make some that taste good.
What's the point?
So. Yeah. I don't know.
Beer without alcohol is like, I don't know, cake without icing. Anyways, okay.
Okay, now go on your rant.
Oh, it's not much of a rant. It's a little bit of a revelation. I think we've alluded to it in the past. I think I'm anti-aging beer now. So wait, it's conditional.
I thought you were talking about like just personally. You were like, I'm done getting older.
Oh, I wish. Yeah, there's no stopping that, unfortunately. And every day it's worse.
I was like, dang, okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna age anymore. I've decided.
Okay, so anti-aging of beers.
Okay, so I opened a Rusty Nail from I think in 2021.
Okay.
For Thanksgiving and shared it with everybody that liked it, and I felt like I could be imagining this maybe, but I feel like the cinnamon had fallen off a lot. So I know we've talked about like drink your cellar a little bit, and we've also talked about, you know, like a lot of times perfect examples like when you get this Bourbon County Stout, it was in the barrel for 8 to 12 months. It's already aged. So I think for adjuncted stouts, I just want to drink them when I buy them. I don't want to age them because I do think, and I think other people do agree with this, is like, and we had that experience at New Belgium. I think when you age an adjuncted stout, sometimes the adjuncts start to fall off. So, for example, this banana is a perfect example. Like, if I aged one of these for a couple of years and then drank it, the banana would probably be less present, which is kind of a bummer because the whole point is that there's, like, banana in it.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, now, for other things that aren't adjuncted, I think I'm okay aging them. So, a little bit of a side story. The shop I talked to got Black Tuesday, and I wasn't going to buy one, but then I went in, and they had a couple bottles left, and the owner is a very
sucker.
Yeah, he's so charismatic. I told Steven, like, well, he just sees me, and then every time he sees me, he's probably like, all right, sweet, I'm about to make, like...
Yeah,
I'm about to make some money because this idiot.
Yeah, it's the same as my brew.
This idiot's gonna buy stuff. But no, I mean, he's an awesome guy and he drinks all this stuff. So I ask him like, "What'd you drink lately?" And he's like, "I had this. It's so good." And he doesn't lead me astray. You know, like if he says something, he'll say like, "Oh, this one was over. You know, this one wasn't that good."
Yeah.
But anyway, so he had Black Tuesday and like, so that I think I could be mistaken. I've never had Black Tuesday. That's not like adjuncted or anything. I think letting that one go probably it's going to change it. I don't know if it's going to be improving it or making it worse, but it's probably not going to lose a lot. Like it's like these extra flavors that are added aren't going to fall off. But because we had the beer at New Belgium that
what did we drink?
I don't remember, but it had like cherry in it or something. And you had it like when they first bottled it, and you loved it, and you were like, "Oh, Jason, you'd love this." It was like cherry. And then we had them. They were so nice. They actually opened one for us, and just like we were gonna buy one for the bar, basically, because we don't want to drink this, barrel aged stout. We wanted to try a bunch of stuff, so we didn't want to commit to drinking this big bottle. And they're like, you know what? We got to try one for quality control. They were awesome. But they all said the same thing, like, oh my gosh, like I think it was cherry. They were like, the cherry's like gone. So just in the bottle, the adjunct had kind of fallen off. This is a really long-winded way of saying, I'm going to start drinking my cellar. And unfortunately, Steven has moved far away from me. So, and I have, no one I know likes any of these like barrel-aged stouts. So I'm kind of just committed to like, I'm going to drink them. And unfortunately, a lot of them still come in like big bombers. And if I can't finish the bomber, so be it. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I used to feel all this pressure. Like, I got to drink the whole thing. I don't want to waste this amazing beer. But at this point in my life, I'm an old man. I'm a new parent. I don't have a lot of time to drink, these large bombers. So if I drink like 3/4 of it and then that's all I can handle for the day, I'm just going to do it. Because I'd rather like drink these things like while I think they're the best to be drank than let them kind of rot in my fridge. So
like looking for the perfect time to drink it.
Yeah, and
that's what I found is I just can't find the perfect time.
It never comes up.
Yeah, just open it.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna start drinking stuff. Like Black Tuesday, I'll maybe let that go for a year and then bring it to Christmas or something like that. But if it's adjuncted, like so, for example, like it's Banana Foster's, I'm drinking it. I have other half banana bourbon barrel aged stout. Next time I record, I'm drinking that one. Like, that's my new thing. So I'm embracing the hashtag drink your cellar, parenthetically adjuncted stouts.
Nice. Yeah, I just got my Tavour box today.
Yeah,
and it has I can't remember what it's called, but it's from the brewery, and it's the Black Tuesday base.
Oh,
with
nice.
Bananas in it.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, drink that soon.
So that one needs to So that'll be one that comes out pretty early on too. So that was Adding Corners. That's what the beer was called.
Oh, okay.
Adding Corners Cherry was.
It was cherry.
Yes.
And that's what we noticed had fallen off, the cherry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it wasn't just us; it was all the people that worked there. They all.
Yeah, everybody said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Because when I first drank that fresh, it was.
Yeah, you said the cherry.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I'm drinking it thinking, wow, Jason needs to be here right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I was so bummed when we tried it, and it was like, you're like, it's not the same.
Well, luckily we didn't pay for it, so.
Yeah, they were so cool. All right, well, do we want to jump into our main topic?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, Goose Island. You know what I liked about this one, Steven? I feel like a lot of the breweries we do deep dives on are inspired by Sierra Nevada, Anchor Steam. This one was not inspired by a brewery in America. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
So
I think maybe this is more of an East Coast thing because wasn't Brooklyn kind of that way too?
Oh, I don't remember.
I think they were more like he came back from wherever he was serving with the military.
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah. So it's like almost you had two coasts doing their own thing. Because I don't know, even like Dogfish Head and all those breweries, Sam Adams, like it kind of was their own revolution going on over there.
Mm-hmm. And maybe they were getting more inspired by. Yeah, that's really interesting.
So Greg Hall, right? He's the founder of Goose Island.
Yeah.
He was inspired by the pubs of London.
Yes. So specifically Fuller's.
Okay.
So he, at least from this interview I'd watched with him, he had business that would take him to Europe, and he went to Fuller's Brewing in London, and he said like when he walked in, and this is really true of like brew pubs generally of this style, he said it felt like walking into someone's living room. And we have actually, like, local to me, we have a pub that's kind of based on like the London pub scene, and that's exactly what it feels like. It's like you feel like you're going into somebody's house. And he said that was like so enchanting that it had this like homey feel, like the people hang out there, they drink, they talk with their friends. And it just had this vibe that was like really cool to him. And then he said on top of that, like the beer was incredible. Like he was trying all these ales, and he said there was like, all this variety, and he just didn't feel like there was that variety of beer in the US. So he's like, I'm going to try to replicate basically like this brewery. I have to look it up. I think it's called White Horse. Was actual like tap room. And he basically was like, I'm going to replicate this in Chicago. And he did.
It has that like Cheers look to it.
Yes, and unfortunately, that's the location that just shut down. But me and Steven in the pre-roll, I sent him a picture of it, and like, yeah, it does like it's just Cheers is a good way to describe it, but like, just imagine like it's the wood paneling, leather. It is like someone's living room, which is so cool. It's just like it has this really homey feel. Open, it's big. There's people sitting at the bar. There's people sitting at like tables and booths and stuff like that. So he really wanted to take that and then put it in Chicago. And this is like 1988. So it's kind of cool that he was inspired by that. And like, we're at the point, I was trying to think like, when I was watching watching that short documentary, and then there's another documentary we're going to reference about, more specifically about the Bourbon County Stout, that they make, obviously. But this is 1988, so it's like I almost want to put it as like second wave craft beer. I don't know, what do you think, Steven? Because Sierra Nevada is what, 1978, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, 1979 is Sierra Nevada. So it's like a decade. It's a decade after Sierra Nevada, so they're doing their thing on the West Coast. But I do know that Goose Island is, at least for Illinois, it's the oldest operating brewery. So yeah. So I don't know. I'd maybe call them maybe 1.5 even.
Yeah,
they're definitely
like
a
little bit more of this Midwest and East Coast. More like late 80s is kind of your first wave. Like I said, Brooklyn.
Yeah,
coming back.
When was Brooklyn brewing?
88.
Okay.
Also.
Yeah.
So I think you just had your own little mini revolution on the East Coast.
East Coast, Midwest. Yeah.
Because obviously, even whatever was happening in California still wasn't getting distributed to the East Coast.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right?
Especially not then.
Multiple isolated revolutions going on.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So maybe we call this. It's like the East Coast Midwest wave one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so opened in 1988. So they made a number of beers besides the Bourbon County Stout, of course, that were super popular. I think the Goose Island IPA, their flagship IPA, very similar to me to like a Lagunitas IPA.
Okay.
Like a West Coast style, hoppy style, bitter style that just like very solid year after year after year. So that's a great beer. They also make some great saisons and sour stuff. So a diverse product line for sure.
Yeah.
What's fascinating to me is that so they sold to InBev, AB InBev.
2011, right?
In 2011.
Yeah.
For almost $40 million. And honestly, that seems, when I looked that date up, I was honestly surprised that it was 2011.
It seems like it's more recent, huh?
Early.
Yeah.
The Constellation acquisition of Ballast Point was 2016.
Okay.
Full 5 years later. And that was like, there was a lot of controversy with that.
Right. So this is 5 years before that.
And 2017 was Lagunitas' sale to Heineken.
Okay.
So you had a full 5-6 years later before the two other like major. So this almost was like, I don't know. I guess honestly I wasn't in the know enough probably to even have an opinion at the time.
No.
Right, but it does seem that in the history of breweries selling out, this one kind of gets like a little bit forgotten, and maybe that's because Goose Island just continued to operate as is. Like AB InBev did a pretty good job of leaving them alone.
I think they did. It's actually really funny that I wanted to talk about this a little bit. There's a lot of hate. It's so funny because when I started when I started doing research for this episode, I was like, "Oh, they got bought in 2011. Like, where's all this hate?" Because it's been 12 years and their beer, in my opinion, is still really good. So like, it's clear that Anheuser-Busch isn't like messing around in the kitchen. And I actually have a friend, this is a stupid friend of a friend story, but I was chatting with this in another group online, and he has a buddy that actually works there. He said he chatted with him about it, and he's like, yeah, there's not like giving directives down to Goose Island about like, what you guys need to do. They just kind of let it run. So it is kind of funny though, because like I read like some of the subreddits, and in the craft beer subreddit, people will post like, oh, I got my Bourbon County, and it's like the comments always split like 50-50 of like, oh, awesome, and oh, like that's like Budweiser trash and all this stuff. It's just funny. It's just like, I don't know, but people we have a whole episode about selling out, and I think Steve and I are on the same page of it happens. It's the reality of doing business, And as long as they let the brewery kind of keep doing what they're good at, then I don't know. It doesn't really bother us, I think. I mean, it's cool to be independent, but at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know. I feel
like that. I mean, maybe not, but I feel like that same person that comments that thing,
yeah,
like also goes to Whole Foods,
yeah,
and,
which is owned by Amazon. Yeah, right? Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they're more consistent in their philosophies, but I don't know. It's just everything's happening like that these days. So there's small business, there's local business, and there's big businesses. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're producing a bad product.
Sure.
And we just drank it today, and it's good.
Still good.
So, well, one of my two was good.
Oh no, maybe it is. They're starting to miss. No. Okay, so do we want to talk about Bourbon County?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I will say I was going to mention something
about
the sale from AB InBev.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so they do also brew their beer now in InBev brewing facilities in Belgium as well. Mm-hmm. So probably bigger like European presence for the same beer. The other thing too I want to mention is that one of the things I was reading a brewer or like a brewery owner who was talking about selling out a conglomerate, and he was saying that one of the only ways you can get money out of your brewery is to sell it, right? So, like to get cash out of it.
Yeah.
And it's like your primary home, right? Like, yeah, it's part of your net worth.
Sure.
But it only actually it only gives you cash if you sell the house, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes a brewery owner at some point wants to like live, right? Like he's built a great business.
Yeah.
And he or she has built a great business, and they want to have some of the cash that they feel like they've earned. And one of the only ways to do that is to sell. And you can do that and still have your same brewery and make the same beer, continue to operate, but you got a big check. So anyway, that was just another addition to the selling. That I don't know if that was Greg Hall's thing. He has subsequently bought the cider portion.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Back from AB InBev. I don't know much about the cider portion, but he has bought a little bit back. He's more in the cider business now, which is so funny to me. I don't know. It makes me laugh. Like, you really went from bourbon barrel.
That's weird. Yeah.
Like you're one of the best bourbon barrel aged stouts for a long time, and now you make cider. I don't know. Maybe it makes really good cider.
Not my thing. I'll keep drinking the bourbon barrel stout.
But yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, let's talk BCS.
Okay. Well, first of all, there's a documentary on Goose Island's YouTube channel. It's 40 minutes long. It's fantastic. I highly recommend. If you're into this beer, that's going to do it more justice than me and Steven can do. They really go into like the background. They talk about how like bourbon's brewed. They go to like where the trees are cut that make the staves that make the barrels. It's really well done. Unfortunately, it has very few eyes. It only has like 40,000 views or something like that. But it gives
it's from like 2015. Too,
yeah, so it gives a really cool history. But we picked up a lot of details from that. The funniest thing to me is like they decided to do this for their 1000th brew, and they never planned on like doing it again. Like it wasn't going to be this like annual release. Right. And it reminds me a little bit of the story. Was it Black Tuesday? The one where they grain locked when they were
it was
brewing?
Like way too much grain.
Yeah, so they almost grain locked as well. They said so they're going to brew it. They knew they wanted it to be this massive beer. They put so much grain in the fermenter that like it started coming out the top. They said they had to like tie the thing closed because it was like bubbling out, and they didn't want it to all pour out the side. So it's really funny. It was kind of a similar story of like they kind of pushed the limit like a little too far. But yeah, it was just kind of like that was the thing that struck me as like, and it's kind of maybe the same thing for Black Tuesday. It's like they were just kind of doing something crazy, and they didn't know at the time when they were doing it that it was going to be like this brand. They were basically starting a brand new style of beer. So they take that first Bourbon County Stout, they enter it into, I think we told the story before too, they enter it to the Great American Beer Festival. It gets disqualified. They entered it as a Russian. It gets disqualified because it doesn't have like any of the flavors. But then the judges are like, So the judges are like split because they're like, well, it's DQ'd. We can't consider it this style of beer. But it's also like hands down the best beer at this entire festival. So it like basically gives birth to a brand new style of beer and a brand new category at the Great American Beer Festival. It's so cool. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. And just a brand new way of like making beer. So super interesting. It's all malt, 0 adjunct sugars.
Right.
For this beer. So again, you're getting up to a whatever it is,
it's
15,
like 14.5, I think.
15% beer with no adjunct sugars to that, all malt. It's a really, really labor-intensive process. It's very difficult to ferment a beer with such a high gravity. They do multiple what's called turns where they add beer, they start fermenting, and then they add more wort on top of that to reactivate the yeast with new sugars. And then there's also a very specific barrel that they look for when they make this beer. So I think exclusively it was just Heaven Hill barrels at first.
That's correct. And then they couldn't get enough, I think.
Because they wanted more. They wanted barrels that were more than 8 years.
8 years. And one of the things that's really cool
gets harder and harder to get.
Is there's a lot of similarity in the way they age it, in the way that they age bourbon. They age it in Chicago, and it's a non-temperature controlled building. So, right, and they age it for 8 to 12 months. I know they did that special when they got the Pappy Van Winkle. They did 2 full years. But, you know, if you're doing 12 months, you're getting a full season cycle. So it's Chicago. So it gets super freezing cold. And then it's going to get quite warm in the summer. And the barrels are just kind of undergoing all that temperature change, which is making them expand and contract. And that all kind of helps the process. And I know they do the same thing with a lot of bourbon brewing, you know, primarily in Kentucky, where they just... You know, they don't temperature control that process. They want it to be chaotic with those like shifts in temperature. So that's really cool. It's kind of like there's an echo of bourbon aging process in Bourbon County beer fermentation, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
but it's like echoing into it. It's really cool.
And then I think we mentioned you said this in the pre-roll. So the Angel's share.
Oh yeah.
A bourbon is what evaporates off?
Yeah, so whenever you distill any spirit,
or what you lose into
in a barrel, like some of it evaporates off. They call that the angel share. I didn't know there's another thing called the devil's cut. So for bourbon, they're only allowed to use the barrels once. So some of the bourbon gets absorbed into the wood. So you're losing that, you know, amount of bourbon. They call that the devil's cut. And then those barrels have to go off to do other things. That was one of the things that was really cool is like Bourbon County, when they first decided to do this, they were meeting with, I'll have to postscript his name, but it was the head of one of the big bourbon.
Jim Beam.
Yeah, maybe it was Jim Beam. And they were like, hey, what do you do with those barrels? You know, because like I don't know if you call it law, but by regulation or law, they can only use them once. So then they got to go on, and they get used for a lot of different things.
They can make whiskeys.
Yeah, right. Whiskeys, all sorts of stuff. But to be called bourbon, it's got to be a first fill. So they were kind of like, hey, like, can you sell us some of those barrels? We're going to put beer in it. And it's kind of cool. There was like this, you know, meeting, and they got really interested. Like, wait, you're going to put beer in it? Like, it was kind of weird. And so it is cool that they do that, where they're kind of giving those barrels second life in their own way.
But yeah, I thought it was cool that they do not wash them out, rinse them, steam them, or anything.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So that little bit of bourbon, that devil's cut, that's like in the wood or still in the barrel, or it comes out of the barrel when it contracts or whatever, technically is just in the beer.
Yeah.
So there's there
is bourbon in Bourbon County beer,
which I love.
Yeah,
that
that's
too.
really cool.
You mentioned it too. I think this in 2010 they wanted to do something really, really cool, or actually before 2010. I guess at this point it was like 2008. They wanted to do something really rare, so they got these Pappy Van Winkle barrels, and they aged the Bourbon County Stout in these barrels for 2 years. And they released that in 2010, and it was so great. The little news clip from the release, it was like this newscaster asking some random guy at a bar, like, "Did you pay $45 for a beer?" And of course that guy's gonna be like, "No, that's crazy."
Yeah, he's drinking like Coors at a bar. Yeah.
But it sold out in
an hour and a half, they said. I would have bought one.
Yeah. So that was called BCS Rare, I think. Bourbon County Rare, I think.
Rare.
And so after moving on from Heaven Hill, they started to mix in Jim Beam, Barton, and Buffalo Trace barrels, all giving like the beer different characters,
Yes.
different flavors, which is really cool. When it comes to variants, they kind of look to, at first they really look to the flavors of the base stout.
Yeah,
They
like
tried to put those up,
accentuating things. Yeah.
adding vanilla, cinnamon, chocolate, coffee. Coffee was a big one. Yeah, dark fruits. And then they've gotten obviously more creative now with like the bananas foster and adding things like that. But at first they were trying to really just accentuate the flavors that were already there.
Yeah, they said like, you know, they've been doing it so long, they've been there, done that.
They ran out.
What's cool is they said that they give people that work at the brewery, so like they give them a 4-pack, and they say go home and like mix this with stuff. And in like the documentary they had showed one of I can't remember, it was like one of the ladies that worked there, you know, she had the beer, and then it shows her like kind of toasting like almonds in the her oven, and then she kind of put the almonds in a mason jar with like something else, and then she like poured the beer into it.
Pecans or something
like that. Yeah, so it's
pecans,
like,
and then she put some maple syrup in there too, I think.
Yeah, and then she like pours into.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how long she left it in the mason jar, but they're encouraging their staff to like, hey, go figure out like variants for us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which I think is cool. The proprietor stout. I think that's what that is.
Oh, okay.
That's what that comes out of, is some of the workers
just
like coming back
tinkering with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about Bourbon County?
I don't think so. This is kind of cool to taste it and talk about it. Honestly, again, one of the most like sort of solid, cohesive bourbon barrel aged stouts that I've ever tried. Like, it's just really, really, really solid. If someone's trying to, like, I don't know, if you want to try something, get yourself one on a Black Friday, and they're still in the grocery stores now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, getting the
crack it open now.
I guess that's the only thing I wanted to say to close on is like, I do think, I don't know, when I talked to the owner of that shop, he said, you know, at one time these sold out like so fast, but then he has noticed, like, I think they kind of were doing a dance between like how much they make and how much would sell, because especially when you watch the documentary, which was filmed I think 8 years ago, they were absolutely underproducing, and they were not meeting demand. And then I think they scaled up production to a point where they actually exceeded demand, like to a certain extent. And I think they're this is his opinion, and they're dialing it back down. So they're trying to meet the demand without like overdoing it. And that's a lot of the hate I see like online too, is like, oh, it's sitting on shelves and all this stuff. But at least for this year, in my experience, like, that's 100% true of the base one. Like, if you just want the 2023 unadulterated, you could still walk into the store and buy that. But the variants, as far as I can tell, those are gone. So
yeah, they're selling.
Yeah, I think they're kind of hitting the right balance of like, if you want a variant and you go on that first weekend, you can get it, but then it will be gone. And then the regular one is going to persist a little longer. I'm sure they make way more of the regular one, but you know, ultimately that.
Well, it kind of goes to what you like your new beer drinking philosophy. Like you do want to get those variants and drink them now. Yeah. Some of the other ones can be on the shelf for a longer.
Oh, 100%. I think the unadulterated one, you can age that one. And I think that would be an interesting thing to do like a vertical on, because I don't think there's not like a flavor that they're highlighting that's going to fall off. So I'm sure it changes over time. You're going to lose some flavors, but you're going to gain some smoothness. You know, it might be, So
yeah,
I think, so yeah, that's my advice. Get the variants, drink them the day you buy them, and then buy the unadulterated, and then keep it. Buy two, but drink one and then keep it, and then every 3 years do a vertical of the. So, all right, cool. Is that an episode, Steven?
That's it.
All right. If you want to reach us, we're on Instagram at attenuation.podcast. Email is contact.attenuation@gmail.com. And this has been episode 102 of Attenuation, a beer podcast. My name's Jason, and I'm joined by my best friend since 8th grade, Steven.
That's me.
And we are saying cheers, and we'll see you the next time we record for episode 103.
All right. Sounds good. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Attenuation, a beer podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Instagram or Facebook for lots of extra fun content. See you next episode. Cheers.